to Find Your Outdoors. I'm your host, Frank Willem. You may recall the teal hunt episode we aired last season on FYO with the crew from Muddy Rice Outfitters.
Kill him!
Well, this week, FYO team member Wes Martin joins them in Kansas to hunt Greater Canada geese with Muddy Rice Outfitters and Neosho River Outfitters in the first of this two-part series. Let's join them now for some exciting action in Kansas.
So Kansas, every year, myself and some friends and Jacob and some of the other partners with Muddy Rice, we go to Kansas. I like to go in December and January so I can kind of get a little bit of both environments. January, it's usually cold. December is hit or miss if it's going to be cold or not.
When we go to Kansas, we team up with the good friends of ours that run Neosho River Outfitters up in Burlington, Kansas. And we team up with them and we go and we scout our first day and we really find where the birds are. There's cornfields, there's winter wheat fields, there's CRP, they have plowed ground, bean fields, and we find where these birds are sitting at. And we'll get in layout blinds, we'll build panel blinds if we have to, and we put the birds with their feet down and we shoot them in the face.
You guys are here now, let's go scout, see what we got. A bunch of birds here, but we may as well go show you guys, get y'all excited.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's do it.
Let's roll.
Let's do it.
The guys head out in two separate groups to scout for the next day. Will is in the truck with Tyler and Joey, looking for a good duck hole for the next morning hunt.
The biggest thing that we have to do when we scout is get permission. Up there, you know, it's not like you go and you lease land like you would in Texas, but you really have to go and knock on the doors and ask people for permission to hunt their fields. And that is what hunting is about, and Kansas really embodies that, and that's why we love it so much. And we want to make sure that every year we take that week and we go up with our buddies at Neosho and we absolutely lay the smack down on the birds.
Jacob is scouting with Walker. They find a nice roost pond loaded with ducks and geese.
We come up on this pond and it's got a lot of ducks and geese on it, so we went ahead and put our spotting scopes on it from Vortex, and we're going to give them an update. So possibly we can come over here, set up some panel blinds and get some ducks and geese in the morning. We got ducks steadily dumping into this thing, so it looks hopeful. Maybe we can get on in the morning.
When we come back, the guys set up on a hillside for an evening goose hunt.
Going after Greater Canadian geese in a bean field. We're gonna set up on them with full bodies and layout blinds. They've been feeding here for a couple days, and we had about 500 in here yesterday, so we're gonna come in, set up on them, and try to get after them.
That low where them trees are, and then from there we're gonna have to drag them up the hill. Cause I don't think I can drive it. It's soup right now, especially with this junk tire. Got room for 1, 2, 3 right here. Junk tire and all.
Heavy rains over the previous week have made the fields too muddy to pull the trailer across. The group packs up as much gear on the four-wheeler as possible and carries the rest of the mile trek by foot. They've set up on a hillside where scouting reports showed a heavy feed in previous evenings. Now it's time to sit and wait for the geese.
Compared to Texas, there's nothing like Kansas. It's time for us to get up there and just relax and really get after some mallards and graders. That we don't shoot a lot of graders.
So when you're in Kansas, you know, hunting is a little bit different than what we experience in Texas. It's a little bit higher in the flyaway. A lot of the birds stack up there. And so you get in that layout blind and you got you and 7 of your buddies. And there's just absolutely nothing better than that. You and 7 buddies sitting in layout blinds, calling birds and watching them come in.
So yeah, in Kansas, we're gonna either hunt layout blinds or we're gonna put a A-frame up, and we're either hunting a bean field or we're gonna hunt a loaf pond for Canadians. So loaf pond is where the birds come back in to rest during the day, get water, and usually what we'll do, we'll get in there mid-morning when they get off, get set up, and when they start coming back in the afternoon is when we start hunting them.
Like clockwork, the first line of geese appear on the horizon about an hour before sunset.
One of the big things about this trip that I was really looking forward to was the opportunity to come up and do a little goose hunting. Getting to see different ducks and shoot and learn about different ducks is cool from waterfowl, but getting to visit with one of my friends and getting to see the huge Canada goose he has on his wall is really appealing to me. So one of the biggest things about coming up to Kansas and coming on this trip was the opportunity to go on a goose hunt. So I was looking forward to trying to get out here and on this first trip, shoot something that we could take back home and mount and kind of keep as a memorabilia for that first hunt. So
when we come back, the Muddy Rice crew starts stacking up the greater Canada geese, and Mark Campese bags his first greater. We're in Burlington, Kansas with Muddy Rice Outfitters and Neosho River Outfitters. They've set up on a hillside waiting on an evening feed from greater Canada geese.
I just want to shoot geese. I want to shoot the beaks off.
A moan is just...
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Kill him.
That's all right. We got 2. We hit that other one.
What do you think, Campese?
I smashed my cigar jumping up, man.
Oh, that was stupid.
I put mine around top of my mic.
Little schoolgirl, man. I had a lot going on down here, all right?
Yeah, I got 2 when I left the truck. I'm sorry I don't have any extra.
Here comes another line, boys.
Here comes some more.
I got a ration.
A big line, son.
Now, here comes 3 right behind you. Lay down. Hurry up.
Wide over here on the right.
All right, boys. Get down, shut up. Big line. What's up on YouTube? What's there? What did you say? We already in the
Kill him. It was great. I mean, they did just like they're always supposed to do, man. Right before shooting hours ends, they get off the water, they come to feed one last time, and they just came wave after wave after wave. Kill him.
You wanna look down through there? Wanna look through there real quick? Did you hear? Might be over the fence.
Kill him! Somebody shoot him and go up. I'll get him. He ain't going nowhere. Yeah, the tail went down.
I can't be there. $400 goose, son.
Out there, we set up. We had a really good shoot. We ended up killing 12 graders in about a 35-minute period.
After a hard freeze and snowfall during the night, Jacob and a few of the Muddy Rice members head out with Tyler from Neosho River Outfitters to try and put the final slam on Greater Canada geese. Mark Campese is still on the hunt for his first mountable grader. With over a mile to walk to the setup, the gang loads their panel blinds and decoys into the four-wheeler trailer, hoping to pull it across the harder frozen ground. With over 8 panel blinds, 50 decoys, and all their gear, they have a heavy load to carry to the field. Unfortunately, a four-wheeler malfunction in the 0-degree weather causes for the guys to adapt to the situation.
Hey, so out here with Muddy Rice Outfitters and Neosho River Outfitters, when the original plan doesn't go to plan, you have to come up with something. Because the passion for goose hunting supersedes all obstacles. We do whatever it takes.
So this evening we got out to go do our last goose hunt, actually our last hunt for the trip. And yesterday, we got through hunting ducks yesterday morning, rain started coming in, so we went out, we did some scouting. We found a couple of areas that looked really favorable for these geese coming through for us. So this afternoon, after we got done hunting this morning, we went out and got all our stuff out, got the panel blinds all set up, and we set up on the edge of a hill. Real conditions looked very favorable for where we were going to be, so we got set up and we had to wait a few hours. We watched a lot of birds come up and down in the distance, and none really came over to us, but still in the hunt for that one goose that I could put on the wall.
With the heavy winds and 0-degree temperature, the guys are hunting in panel blinds to block some of the elements. Geese are flying, but they can't seem to get any groups to commit, as the extreme winds are buffering their goose calls, as well as knocking over their decoy spread.
It was a beautiful, beautiful setup on a hilltop, snow and ice all over the ground, beautiful sunshine and blue skies, just really cold and really different than the last 3 days as far as conditions go. So
we sat out for a little while, and kind of out of nowhere, these two decided to come straight in, and they came straight in on our decoys. Kind of surprised us all. We had to jump back down and get down and get ready. Actually, a few of us were looking kind of off to the right at a larger group and thinking those were the ones that we were going to try to call in, but these other two came straight in for us. So with a lot of patience, because we waited, probably 2 or 3 hours today before those birds finally came in, and lo and behold, as soon as they came in, it was just like the guys had described from their hunts in the past and what we should expect today. That they locked in on us and they came in, and these two birds came straight in for us. And right about the time they were feet down, they were about to hit the ground, we jumped up and I was able to get that one that I was looking for. So it was a great hunt. Wish we would have seen a few more, but at the end of the day, we got that one that we're going to take home and get them up on the wall for us. So exciting times. It was good.
So we had to make some changes. We were able to see one of our first-time hunters here in Kansas take his first grader. That made it worth the trip right there. These two graders came in, they did it right. They were right in the hole, and he smoked one of them. I couldn't be more proud of him. He's one of my good friends and buddies, and I can't wait to see how that mount comes out on the wall. I mean, that's really good. It's a little bit slower than what we've had in the past, but this year's been a real weird year. The migration just has never really kicked into full swing. We had all the right weather, but for whatever reason, the birds didn't want to move down, and it's just been a real grind. It's been real tough this year, from Kansas all the way down to where we are in Texas. And we got 5 days left of the season. We're looking forward to getting home, seeing our families, and then going back to duck camp and finishing up the season the right way. And we hope to shoot limits here at Muddy Rice Outfitters Camp. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to a good buddy of mine. He wasn't able to join us on this trip, but his name is Bradley Gretzner, and he's a wounded warrior that we took hunting a couple of years ago on his first duck hunt, and he was able to kill his first duck. And when he did that, he gave me this American flag cross. I've had that on my hat ever since, and this cross has traveled and hunted all over, from Louisiana to Texas, North Texas, Kansas, everywhere. It's a real honor to wear that, and I'm proud to know this gentleman.
As you can see, guys, we had a fun-filled trip in Kansas, absolute beatdown, killed 200 birds in 3 days, and we really couldn't ask for better. And here at MRO, we really want to thank y'all for joining us. We really want to thank Find Your Outdoor team for joining us. We know that we have formed friendships that are going to go a lot further than just this camp house, and we look forward to hitting with them again.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and later in the season, we'll be back to hunt mallards with the same crew in part 2. You won't want to miss it. See you next week on Find Your Outdoors.
You